Jeff Saturday joins us now from high atop an ivory tower somewhere at the studios of ESPN. He'll be doing TV there all morning long. We appreciate him taking some time out to join us here on the show in the morning after. So, Jeff, the Colts came so close. They were right in it to the very end against the world champion Philadelphia Eagles. What'd you take away from this game? Where's this team at? What are you thinking?
Listen, I think they, they're right on the edge. Kind of what we talked about preseason, right? They're going to have a few issues that tend to come up and bite him. And yesterday, it's the red zone, right? You get turnovers. Your defense does what it needs to do, with Wentz coming back off the injury, and you can't close out. You can't finish. And those are tough things to overcome, but they're things that are definitely manageable and fixable. You just got to kind of get to it. But I know they'll walk away disappointed, having the opportunities they had to win that ball game, and just kind of there's kind of an edge. You kind of find a way no matter what when you're a good football team and kind of everybody's together. So offensively, I know missing Doyle doesn't help in that situation. There's some things that they'll go back to, but ultimately you got to finish. And Rodgers dropping the touchdown again. Those are things that when you're playing a good team, it's a must-have. It's the must-haves in the red zone that end up winning football games for you in situations like that.
Jeff, I want to stay right there in the red zone. 1 of 5 for the Colts. You mentioned the Rodgers drop, Eric Ebron, T.Y. Hilton, a couple catchable balls as well. I wasn't as frustrated with the play calling necessarily as just the lack of execution. What did you think of the play calling, just kind of what developed when the Colts did get those opportunities to finish off drives?
No, 100% agree. I mean, you're exactly right. Now, players have to make those plays. No, I don't have any issue with guys getting open or having the ability to make the plays. Again, there'll be a number of things as they watch this tape today of, hey, here's what I should have done, and those guys will go back and they'll kick themselves because they'll see, hey, we had some opportunities to make plays where we just didn't. There are going to be games that are sloppy like that. It's a gross field. It's a gross environment. All of those kind of things come into play. But ultimately, the players have to make it. I don't think you go back and rewrite the playbook. I'm in complete agreement with you there. They had every opportunity. It's just one of those days they just didn't close them out.
Jeff Saturday joining us here on the morning after on FM 107.5, 1070 The Fan. What do you see out of Andrew Luck right now? 3 games back, there still seems to be a little bit of rust there. Arm strength may be a question. What are you seeing right now, Jeff?
Well, I think from an arm strength perspective, and I saw, the exchange at the last play of the game for the 70-yard ball in the air. All those, I really don't have any issue with that. I mean, I'd have brought in Kobe as well to put that in. There's no reason to throw that on that shoulder. I mean, where he's coming back from. You got a guy who missed almost 2 years because of it. I ain't doing it either. I'm not gonna lie. So, but as far as in the rhythm of the game, there are some throws that you question a little bit. And again, I think it's not only the arm strength, in my opinion. It's how long you've been away from the game of making that throw, that touch ball that is driven deep down the field, maybe outside the numbers. I think all of those, it just takes time to gain. I mean, it's time to get into. But, as far as what he's doing, I think he's playing right where I would expect him. I mean, you're 3 games in. Again, all these things we discussed before the season, none of this, to me, is a surprise. It's like what happened with Wentz yesterday. He comes back off. He's not even a full year off, and you see, the overthrows early down the field. There's just certain throws in football. I mean, that ain't easy. I mean, there's a reason there's only 10 of them that can do it really well at that level in the world. I mean, so I think we pumped the brakes on the expectations of what we had for that arm right away and the accuracy right away. I think he's right where we expected him to be.
Jeff, it seemed like the drive that would never end there in the fourth quarter. It was a 17-play drive for the Eagles, lasted more than 11 minutes. The Colts aided them big time with a handful of penalties, 4 being accepted on that drive. As an offensive player, what are you thinking on the sideline, watching your defense out there play after play in second and third and long situations? You think you're going to get, back on the field a chance to maybe have a game-winning drive, and the defense just can't get off the field.
I think the most disheartening part for you as an offensive player is that it's penalties. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you said, when you get 2 penalties as they continue to go down to extend the third down, I mean, it does. Those hurt. And in all reality, you begin to kind of get cool. I mean, you're talking about 11 minutes. You're sitting there. It's a lot longer than it feels like an eternity as you're sitting and watching this thing go. And so it is tough. And when I was there with Peyton, that's what a lot of teams would try to do, is they would try to extend drives and run the clock and, get it where, because then offensively when you come on the field, you press a bit, right? Because now all of a sudden you feel like you have to go make a play, because what if they do this again, or we might not get the ball back, or we're going to have fewer opportunities or touches with the ball. And so I think all of those things come into play. But give the Eagles credit. I mean, look, those drives aren't easy for the offensive guys either. And to extend them, from the Colts' perspective, I'm sure they're frustrated. But from the defensive side of the ball, man, you can't be disappointed today.
All right, I love Chris Ballard. I mean, I'm a big Chris Ballard fan. I am all in on Chris Ballard. I'm going to start this up, Jeff. I'm going to be the one. I want Le'Veon Bell. Am I wrong or am I right?
I think it's tougher than you think there, man. I mean, listen, what are you going to give up? You can't do a deal. I mean, it's just a hard. You're talking about some hard lands here. I mean, this isn't it's not the easiest deal to get done. So, is Le'Veon Bell a special player? Absolutely. It would all depend on what you got to give up. I think Chris Ballard is smart enough to understand he's rebuilding a football team, and he's got a lot of places that he's going to have to address.
Okay, let me. I don't mean to stop you there real quick, but we're on time. Let me ask you this though: how many years of Andrew Luck's career are we also willing to invest in a rebuild job?
No, listen, I agree, but again, it goes back to how much you got to give up. I mean, because it's not just a rebuild. It's if you're bringing Le'Veon Bell in and you can't fill the pieces, you're not going to win anyway. So you're pushing. You would have to be a guy away, right? Once you go, hey, if this guy takes us to the bowl, then it's worth it. But what are you willing to give up, in your words and mine, during a rebuild to help Andrew Luck now?
Let's talk a little bit about the Colts and their standing in the AFC South. We saw Tennessee win an ugly game over Jacksonville yesterday. All of a sudden, are the Colts a team that could somehow, some way, win enough games to challenge for this division, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think with the way the offenses are playing on both the other teams, you definitely think you give yourself a chance. I mean, our defense has played surprisingly well. I think with Luck coming back and the more rhythm he finds, they'll be in that hunt, man. I mean, I think Jacksonville laid an egg yesterday. I would not think that would be what they're going to look like each and every week. Fournette coming back is obviously going to help them. They played poor football yesterday on the offensive side of the football. So defense still only gave up 9 points. Mariota looked better than I anticipated when he came back after Gabbert went out. So they could challenge. They still got a ways to go if Jacksonville gets back to at least decent offensive football.
Jeff, the Colts got the Houston Texans this Sunday, their only divisional game in the first 2 months of the year. 0-3 start for the Texans. What do you make of them so far? Is this a team that you think is destined to be maybe a top 5 drafting team here in 2019?
I'm shocked by it. I mean, I'm shocked at how poor they played. You look at offensively with Deshaun Watson, his numbers will look much better than what the game really looked like yesterday. I think he had over 300, and he may have even had 350 yards, but it was an ugly football game. There's no timing in their offense right now, and you're watching an offensive line where he's having to step up, avoid, move, all those different kinds of things. And it's an ugly looking. Everything looks like a struggle for Houston offensively right now. And look, J.J. Watt had an incredible performance against Wheeler, who replaced Eric Flowers. So don't expect that to be there every week either. I mean, that's a guy who had never really played or not much play. So I just look at Houston and think, man, we all thought they were going to be much better than they've really shown on the field. And I'm not sure if they can get a ton better with how their offense is performing. No matter how many guys they have on the outside, they're struggling up front.
Jeff Saturday joins us here on The Fan here in the morning after on FM 107.5, 1070 The Fan. Jeff, before we move on to some of the issues around the rest of the league, your report card quickly after 3 weeks of the Colts rookies, the two guys on the offensive line, Smith and Nelson, and certainly Darius Leonard. What about those guys?
Well, Big Q, on pulls and hits, man, he's laying some hats. So I think you're happy with, like you said, the offensive line I think they're getting better as they move on. Again, man, young players, tough to adjust, but doing well. You look over at Leonard. I mean, the guy's playing out of his mind. I mean, you watch what he did last week, and then you like yesterday, even on the sack coming off, just the way he plays. I mean, off his feet, but still has enough wherewithal to make the grab and get Wentz down. Got to be really excited. I think Chris Ballard's done a heck of it in rebuilding this football team. I think it's ahead of what we expected. They're definitely ahead of what I expected. And I've been impressed, man. Those young kids are playing, and that's what you want to build your football team around.
Jeff, moving to a little national talk. For what seems like the third straight week, we're debating a Clay Matthews penalty, and we're heavily on one side versus the other. And just in general, the roughing the passer penalty in the NFL is dominating these storylines after week 3. Where do you stand on how that penalty is being called here in 2018?
Yeah, it's poor. I mean, let's be honest, man. That's a bad call. I mean, the whole what was landing his body. How do you tackle a guy coming downhill without your body landing? I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Principle of that rule, and it definitely violates the spirit of the rule. I mean, Clay Matthews said it best. I get it too. We want quarterbacks in the game, right? We understand people buy tickets for quarterbacks and all those kinds of things. But man, you're asking the impossible of our defensive players, and what's going to happen is you're going to get those guys hurt because they're going to try to adjust or get their bodies in weird positions as well. We've all been taught how to play football. If it's violent or if it's unnecessary, let the referees make the call. Stop reffing to the letter of the law, and let's get back to the spirit of it instead of ruining our game.
Jeff, a week from Thursday, it will be Colts and Patriots in Week 5. They both are 1-2 on the year. We've been down this road before with New England and September struggles. Any reason to be a little bit more concerned about what they've done so far, 1-2, and really not even that competitive last night on Sunday Night Football?
They look bad. I think Edelman coming back and then Josh Gordon, we don't know exactly what he will be, but that will help their football team on the offense. And everybody double down on Gronk, and then they put, last night they put Slay out there on Dorsett, and where are you going to go with the football? I mean, they're not. They tried to run the ball. They tried to get Edelman. They tried to get Burkhead and those guys and James White in the game, but it's just tough offensively right now for them. And their defense got exposed because they're on the field all day. I mean, Detroit had a great game plan: run at them, fatigue them, do all those kinds of things. Am I worried about the Patriots long term? I am not. I mean, I think they'll get back to where they are or where they normally are. And so, no, I think expectations of them early were probably a little blown out of proportion with how many guys they have missing, and a lot more guys yesterday that weren't on the field for them. They'll be back to form. So definitely don't count them out yet.
Hey, Jeff, before we let you go, to me, the biggest story in the NFL so far, other than that rules discussion, has been the play of Patrick Mahomes. I know Fitzpatrick is on a roll, and we'll see what he does tonight. But this young man, I don't know if I'm more impressed by his ability to create points and generate plays or his ability to take care of the football. How impressed have you been in the fact that he just does not turn the ball over? What are your thoughts on him?
No, I'm blown away. I agree with you. Listen, I diagrammed the play center yesterday, and then I'll do another one today where he's got pressure coming from his right. He kind of makes a little S curl, sees it on the left, bends it all the way back. To me, it's the weekend. He's drifting to his right, sees the receiver in the back of the end zone, and throws a dart to the back of the end zone. And to your point about that's an easy ball, right? You try to force it too early. You try to let it go. And next thing you know, he's drifting out, and he puts it right on the receiver. And he has care with the football, but he plays with a fearlessness that's pretty impressive. And what he's gotten all the guys around him, the Tariq Hills, the Conleys, the Kelseys, the Kareem Hunt, everybody is playing up because of what he can bring. So he has definitely played special football and inspired football these first 3 weeks, and it's going to be pretty cool to watch him because it's been impressive.
Hey, last thing for me, Jeff, because I know you were watching football in what we call the war room at ESPN, where there's screens all over the wall and everybody's watching everything at one time. I just have to ask honestly, it's okay, because I was in the same spot in my studio at home yesterday. How many people were really focused in on the NFL? How many people were paying attention to the PGA Championship?
Oh, there was some Tiger up in the corner now. Don't believe. Yeah. Hey, we're all human, right? We all want to see something special. There was some Tiger on up in the top right corner. There's no doubt. Heck of a day for him, man. I mean, congrats all the way around. That was pretty special for him to bring that thing back in.
Yeah, I could just envision the scenario where all of a sudden everybody is looking up to that right-hand corner and not so much on the NFL anymore.
You know it, man. We all got to have some fun too, right?
Jeff, thanks as always. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, y'all have a great one.